Hey, welcome back to Guitar Better. My name is Jeremy Walton, and I hope you guys are ready for your first theory lesson. I know I'm pretty stoked. So what we're going to talk about today is the basic concept of a whole step and a half step. I really hope you guys can get it. I'm going to be trying something a little different. So, hope you enjoy. Okay, so theory is very cool. I get very nerded out about it sometimes. But what I wanted to do is show you some simple concepts that you can learn and use when you are first learning the guitar. Okay, and this is going to be called the whole step and the half step. So I am going to get my paint out here, and bear with me because I'm using a mouse to do this. But we have, that's not what we want. We've got a whole step, right? Wow, and a half step. Okay, now, this might be a little bit easier to explain if I've given you some precursory info. So what we are going to do is try to delete all this stuff. Alright, what we're going to do is first we're going to cover the musical alphabet, right? So I believe we've covered this in a previous video, but if not, that's fine. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and back to A. And so this kind of makes a circle with, in this case, A being your start and then looping around and coming back. So, yeah, we'll see. This is going to be interesting. I haven't ever made a video on paint before, but I'm going to give it a go. So, there's a few things to know about this scale. For the most part, they are naturally whole steps, right? But for the first scale that we're going to look at, it's actually in the key of C, because there are no sharps or no flats. So, in the key of C, it starts on C, right? Then you have D, then you have E, F, G, A, B, and back to C. Now, in between C and D is a whole step. D and E is a whole step. E and F is a half step. Okay, so a little different. F and G, there's a whole step. G and A, there's a whole step. B and C, there's a whole step. And C and B and C is a half step. Now, what we can look at this is, this defines right here a major scale in the Western culture, right? So we're looking at an Ionian major scale, and what we've got, if I can get rid of Control Z. Okay, so what we've got is a whole, half, whole, half. And now if you can remember that, you can play any major scale starting on any string. And it's this simple. A whole step equals 2 frets, and a half step equals 1 fret. On the that's related to the guitar. I'm going to pull up a picture of a piano here in a bit to show you guys. But a whole step is 2 frets, a half step is 1 fret. And if you'll notice, we only have 2 half steps, and it's between B and C and E and F. Now, to remember this, because it can be a little tricky at first, I remember Elmer Fudd, and I don't actually remember what my acronym is for the B and C, but I guess you can think of it like BC, like the terminology with time. So there's a half step between E and F and B and C. So if we look at this on our guitar fretboard, which is super awesome looking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we have our E. We'll go backwards. So this will be a B, G, A, and E. Wow, I'm running out of room. Okay, so this is your 6th string, so it would be like I was looking down. Right, so I'm looking down, which is technically up in this case. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets. Okay, so this is the nut of my guitar. Hopefully now you're oriented. Okay, this is the little E string, so I guess I should have made a little E. So 1 fret, first fret would be right here. In the G major scale that I gave you, you guys should know that this note right here is a G. What does that tell us? Well, if we look at it, between F and G is a whole step, so we want to go this way, because that would be progressing up the neck. So a whole step is 2 frets, so an F would be right here. Okay, drew an F, and I circled it. So now if you get out your guitar and you play this first note, 1st fret, 6th string, you're going to play an F. And then if you're going to play this right here, this note, you're going to play a G. Because there are 2 frets. You go 1, 2 to play it. I know that might be confusing at first, but just think you're playing you go 1 and then 2. So this would be my 2nd fret. Now, say I wanted to do, well, let me erase this really quickly. I need to redraw it. But nice. Excuse this. Wow. I might have to come up with a better way of doing these videos if I can't draw a line. So, this note right here, let's do this. So this is a C, and I know this for a couple reasons, because this is a G, and then it goes A, B, C. And if you'll notice, I just went right up the scale. I went G, A, B, C. So we can look at that a couple ways. So let's start with our A right here. So between A and B is a whole step. So I'm going to go 1, 2. Okay. 2 steps, or 1 whole step, 2 frets. I know it's a B. Between B and C is a half step, which is only 1 fret, which is how I know that this is a C. Guys, this is how I learned the fretboard, partially. The main reason and the main thing how I learned the fretboard was I had to read classical music on a piece of paper, and every single time that I had to read the notes, I had to go back and figure out this stuff, and just over time, eventually, I learned how to I memorized the fretboard. So that being said, there are a few tricks to learning the fretboard. I will try to talk about those in a later video, but right now we're talking about whole steps and half steps. Don't want to get too off topic. Okay, so B and C is a half step, which means there's 1 fret. So if you'll notice, B to C, 1 fret. A to B, 1, 2 frets. Okay, to talk about this in a different way, let's look at a piano. Let's resize that. So on a piano, this is a C. Few reasons you could tell is, so a piano, there's only really 8 keys if you think about it, and then those 8 keys repeat, and they are these. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 8th key is the one that repeats, which you'll notice this key right here, it goes white, white, then black. Okay, white, white, then black. You can kind of, if you can see the pattern, so I know that that's a C. This is why the piano, people say that the piano is a good way to learn theory, because the octave looks the same. On a guitar, you can move around the neck and do everything, but the octave does not look the same at all. So this is why I'm showing it to you on a piano. So we've got C to C, and it goes C, And we're going to do the same thing. So if you guys remember, it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half to get a major scale. So C, what's next after C? We have D. Okay, so C to D is a whole step. So we're going to go, this is one key. Second key is this black key right here. Then this is going to be our next key. So this will be D. And you'll notice, unlike a guitar, it's in frets. In the piano, it's just the next key. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 individual keys. But if you were to skip one key, it's like skipping one fret on the guitar. Okay, so a whole step, C to D, because we have this key in between them. Now we have D to E, which is another whole step. And so we're going to go D, skip one. This is going to be our E. Now, in between E and F, we have a half step. Okay, you'll notice on the piano this works out really well because there is no key in between this E and the F. So that's how we don't skip anything. We just play the next note, and it looks just like that. Between F and G is a whole step. So I'm going to skip one, G. Pretty simple, same stuff really. G and A, skip one, and A and B. So white, black, white keys. We're going to skip there. And then between B and C, oh, that's not a C. Between B and C is a half step. So if you look, B to this key that we've already established is C. There is no key right here, so it is a C. Half step. One step is a half step. Two steps are a whole step. All right, does that make sense? I hope it does, because for the life of me, I can't remember what I was going to talk about next. So I will cut now. We're going to get a new paint and go from there. So I had totally forgotten. A good way to look at what we just learned is to implement it on the guitar neck itself, because that is what we want to do. So I realized I could do these awesome lines, and these are going to represent our guitar fretboard. Right there. Okay. So this is going to be our nut. And then we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you get the picture. Okay, we could go up to a 9th fret. I will do that right now. Just got to make it. Okay, so same deal. I lost my mouse. There it is. We have the low, the E string on the 6th string. We have an A, D, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh man, wow. Only drew 5 strings. Let's fix that real quick. Perfect. It was like it was never even happened. So, as I finish drawing these, E, A, D, G, B, and the little E. So this is your highest string or your first string. So if we implement the whole step, half step method, you can literally start on any note whatsoever. So let's just, for the sake of this, we're going to start on E, since that's our first open string. Well, 6th string open. I guess it doesn't matter. You could do it on either. So we have a whole step first, which means 2 frets. So we're going to go 1, 2. So our next note is going to be here. And we're going to go another whole step. So we're going to go 1, 2. And our next note's going to be here. And we're going to go half step, whole, whole, half, right? So then our next note's going to be here. And then whole, whole, whole half. And I realized just now that I didn't draw 12 frets, so I can't go all the way up. Alright, so now I have 12 frets. Same deal here, guys. E, A, I know I keep saying it, but you need to memorize these open strings because they're really important. So E, A, D, G, B, and the little E. 12th fret resets the fretboard, so the 12th fret is exactly the same thing as the open strings, except 1 octave up. So whole step, right? E, whole step is going to be 2 frets, so 1, 2, whole step. Next is a half step, and then you're going to go another whole step, another whole step, one more whole step, and then your 12th fret right here, half step. Man, I cut that really close. I actually didn't make it at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. Wow. All right, only made 11 frets, but hopefully you guys get the idea. Okay. We can do this on any string, and this note right here, our starting note, would be the scale name. So if we want the A scale, or the key of A, we're going to start on the 5th string. So then we're going to go whole step. And in this case, just kind of forget these previous strings. We're going to go whole step, whole step. So whole, whole, half, right? Whole, 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 half. Now what do you notice? It's the same thing. Right, it's because it starts from the same spot. Same thing with the D. If we want to play the D scale, we're going to go D, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Right, it's the same all the way up. But what you need to know is that this only works if you're in whatever key the string is on. So I want you guys to experiment with that, try playing it, and hopefully you guys like this video. Let me know what you think about the different format, because I haven't done a video like this yet. So this should be a quick and easy lesson, not too difficult. Hopefully you guys can understand these concepts. If you don't, please leave a comment in the YouTube video, and I will try to get back to you as soon as I see it. Thank you all so much for joining me. This was Guitar Better. I'm Jeremy. Whole steps, half steps. Go practice.